Welcome on into a live edition of Falcons Today. Appreciate everyone for taking time out of their day to come hang out with us as we recap all of the latest for your Dirty Birds. We're going to run through news and rumors. We have a really fun segment planned out. I think there's been, in the last, we'll say just the calendar year of 2024, 3 segments that I've been very excited to get to the point where I'm like, you know what? I may even push this a day earlier than I'm supposed to because I can't wait to share this with all of you guys. So we're going to get to that, plus a mailbag at the end. But in the meantime, shout out your city for me in the chat. Sidebar, Colin, the Chrome is doing the thing. Remember I taught you how to fix it? Give that a shot. Shout out your city for me in the chat, though. Let me know where you are tuning in from right now. I want to see everyone in the chat here as Ty Man the Buckeye is watching from OHIO. We've got Shockwave 48 in Atlanta. Hit the plus button. Yep. Auto chroma. We're going to fix that for you all. Sorry about that. Travis is in Richmond, Virginia. Jordan's in Honolulu. Travis Taylor is in Atlanta. I've got Tony in Georgia. Domani is in Fargo, North Dakota. Need help? Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. Give me one moment. I got to fix something on screen. Okay. That's all right. You're going to give shout-outs in the meantime.
Yep. Shout-outs to everybody. I got Shockwave in Atlanta, Carson, Griffin, GA. I got Chris Combs, Travis, Jordan, Honolulu, Travis, ATL. We're all good?
I'm back?
All right.
No, it's still screwing up. What the heck? All right. One moment, everyone. One moment. I'm fixing the screen here.
I know it wasn't just me. As we are going to get that super chat on screen from you, Grand Limousine. Shout-out to you, Ty Man. What's going on, dude? Chris, Travis, Jordan. Damani, Elijah, Big, Elliot, Richard, Javion. Getting some more super chats here.
Hit that button right there. When I've got it clicked on right now. There it is. Okay. Should be fixed now. All right. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yep.
Shout out your city for me in the chat as we have a $20 super chat rolling in from Grand Limousine. The best limousine company that money can get you in the greater Atlanta area. Grand Limousine, watching from Atlanta. Shout out to you. Next time you need to ride in style, these have got to be the go-to people. I mean, I know nothing about Grand Limousine other than they are awesome viewers here at Falcons Today.
Yes.
But I appreciate the hell out of them. So Grand Limousine, I'm looking forward to one day sitting in the back of one of your limos.
Yes.
I've not ridden in a limo in a long time.
I figured you just showed up to work in a limo, the way you just kind of carry yourself.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. I'm walking to work, trying to get myself to shed some poundage. So I embark on like a 1.5-mile journey every morning. Grand Limousine, thank you so much. Okay, so let me ask you this question. Would you guys trade for Treylon Burks? I don't know if you've kept up with just general NFL news, but there has been a lot of free agent signings in Tennessee at the wide receiver position, and people are starting to connect dots that the former first-round pick from Arkansas could be on the outside looking in when it comes to snaps and his role on the offense. So maybe a trade makes sense since the GM that drafted Treylon Burks is no longer there. The head coach that was there when they drafted him is no longer there. So maybe he needs a fresh start, and maybe that fresh start is down the road in Atlanta. Just pass on through Chattanooga and you're homebound. So would you guys be open to trading for Treylon Burks? Ty Man the Buckeye says yes. I've got David watching from Johnson City, Tennessee. Went to college in Tennessee. I had a job one summer delivering lost luggage from McGee Tyson Airport in Knoxville. And I did a lot of trips to the Tri-City and Johnson City area. So I'm well-versed in it. Devin is watching from Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Javon Sims says, yes, Treylon Burks is amazing. Amazing might be a bit of a stretch. Carson just says they signed a player. Did this actually happen?
That would be pretty nuts if it did.
Carson, are you pulling my leg right now?
Let me see.
Let's see. We're about to find out. Carson, that would not be nice. Did they sign someone when I was getting ready?
Hope not. I mean, we did get the rookie numbers. We did see that much.
I think there might be some truth to this. The whole chat is saying it. We're about to find out.
Said yes on Falcons Twitter.
It's on Falcons Twitter. The team just tweeted out the. They did. Oh, wait a minute. No, okay.
Oh, the international.
It's
program.
the international pathway player.
Okay.
Okay, so every team, I wouldn't say like oof, but
Yeah. No, I'm just saying. Like I thought we were like.
yeah. So basically, what happens is every single year in the NFL, 2 divisions, NFC South, AFC South, they each get assigned an international pathway player that does not count towards the roster whatsoever. He's just an extra guy that helps promote the NFL brand in probably whatever country he's from and tries to grow the game internationally. So every year, 8 teams are assigned a player. They don't have any say about it. I think the only say they have is a positional preference. But these guys, no offense, they never make it. So it's a really cool story, and I wish them the best of luck. But yeah, the Falcons have their international pathway player assigned to them. Keandre Ojini is
Apparently,
what it looks like his name is.
Yeah, well, they said on
Defensive lineman, so no surprise.
Yeah, an edge. They do shorten it to Kenny. So if you want to call him Kenny
Yeah.
Ojini.
Had a brief stint with the Chiefs last year, so okay. 6'7", 225. That's a big dude. But a little bit on the lighter side for defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 225 pounds and you're going up against a 300-pound tackle,
Yeah.
that's going to be tough to outmaneuver.
Yeah, you need to probably learn to move in pass coverage because that's.
TG, what do you think about the Drake and Kendrick beef, PD? I'm not a big music guy in general. Like, I'm very vanilla. I'm never the person that creates a playlist, listens to an album when it drops, and I may be losing people as I say this, but I did spend 7 minutes listening to a guy on Twitter tell me everything that happened to build up to this moment. So I am pretty well versed in the whole ordeal now, and I'm ready to say I'm Team Kendrick.
Yeah,
If we're picking teams, I'm Team Kendrick.
Yeah.
However, if Kendrick was Canadian and Drake was American, I'd probably be Team Drake. This is just my national bias coming through. Despite me being a Canadian citizen as well. No love for my mom's side of the family. Sorry, Nanny. Now, should Atlanta re-sign Bud Dupree? Type S for sign, type P for pass. The funny thing is I just said all that, and my Canadian grandmother is the one that watches me the most.
Oh.
More than my parents, for sure. She has no idea what's going on in the world of the Atlanta Falcons.
Shout out to her.
But Nanny watches every time. So shout out to Nanny. I'm very sorry. Maybe I'm Team Drake now. Should Atlanta re-sign Bud Dupree? S for sign, P for pass. I'm in the camp of sign. More is more when it comes to pass rushers for the Atlanta Falcons. I would love to see this unit see some additions made to it. So yes, sign Bud Dupree. Absolutely. Michael Scott. S for sign. Scott says sign. Travis says sign. Domani and Richard. Everyone's saying sign. Carson, yes, I did see Braylon Trice is wearing 48.
48. Yep.
And that's what Bud Dupree wore last year. Which, by the way, when you're with a team on a 1-year contract, I don't think you have any property rights to that number if you're even thinking of coming back.
Right.
Like, you can start all over again. 1 year, no. Now, we are going to run a bit of a fun idea, I want to call it. A unique idea, maybe. The biggest super chat in today's show, which right now goes to Grand Limousine at $20, gets to pick a future show topic. Because we are now about to enter the dog days of the offseason where we still got like mini camp and OTAs to give us some of our football fix. But after that, there's going to be a stretch of, just going through the middle of the Pacific Ocean, waiting to get to land, which is training camp. So in that stretch, if you've got a show idea or topic that you want me to talk about, biggest super chat today gets to pick it. So right now it's going to Grand Limousine at $20. If you've got something you really want me to expand on and you want the credit for the show, it's like sponsoring a highway. Sponsor Falcons Today, and we'll get your show topic on screen.
I was about to say, I think we can do a little sponsor during the show for whoever the.
Yeah, guys. Boston may not like it, but oh well. Okay, so
make it happen.
That's what we got on tap for you all today. And then mailbag at the very, very end. So hashtag Falcons or super chat. If you super chat, it just guarantees it goes on screen. If you go ahead the hashtag Falcons route in the chat, no problem at all. You're just at the mercy of producer Colin picking his favorite questions. But coming up on today's show, I want to run through the latest news and rumors. We have rookie numbers being assigned, jersey numbers. We've got ESPN putting out an interesting article of the biggest remaining hole for the Atlanta Falcons, trading for Treylon Burks, Bud Dupree potentially coming back. So a lot to talk about actually on today's show. And then I thought of a really fun segment, which is who are the biggest beneficiaries from the Raheem Morris hire, right? As Raheem Morris comes to Atlanta and over the next few weeks begins to install with his new coaching staff, their offense and their defense, who is going to benefit the most from Raheem Morris and his scheme and what he wants to do being installed in Atlanta? Whereas like when Arthur Smith came to town, certain guys saw an uptick in their production and their value. Other guys were not as valuable to what Arthur Smith needed to do to be successful, so their value went down. So we're going to go through all that. And then that mailbag, like we mentioned at the very end of the show, hashtag Falcons or Super Chat to guarantee your question gets on screen. Are we ready to jump into today's video?
I think we can be.
Okay. James, I am watching this. That sounds very weird to begin with. Sounds like a hostage situation here. I am watching this. Answer me. I want Campbell. Campbell is better than Dupree. I don't know what that means. Oh, I think it means Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell. Doesn't sound like Calais Campbell is returning. Atlanta has made numerous additions at his exact position. Like James Smith-Williams, the signing from the Washington Commanders. That's one. Brandon Dorless, draft pick out of Oregon. That's two. Rukaroro is more of an interior defensive lineman, but that's in the same neck of the woods. So that's like 2.5. Braylon Trice is in his neck of the woods, but not the exact same position. So you combine those two, it's like 3 additions at that spot. So there have been a lot of defensive tackle, defensive end, minute level additions. To me, it sounds like it's kind of pushed out Calais Campbell returning, which is a bummer because he had 6.5 sacks last year and is an awesome presence in the locker room. Are we ready to jump into a live edition of Falcons Today? We have 126 people watching right now, 23 likes, so not even quite 10%. Can we get ourselves to 30 likes? Would really, really appreciate it. If you have not hit the thumbs up button, please go ahead and do so. It just invites YouTube to send more people to our stream and to our watch parties and our live shows, videos, all that good stuff, and allows the channel to grow. And if it continues to grow, I can get more studio space because believe it or not, like I'm actually in a room with 3 green walls and a TV and a camera and a monitor, and then I can get more of this, and you guys can get more content in return.
Not to mention, I mean, we could also stay live longer, too.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's actually even a better point. All right, 33 likes. There we go. Check that box. Let's jump into a live edition of Atlanta Falcons Today. Today's show schedule just kept growing by the minute, it felt like today, because the Falcons dropped some rookie jersey numbers. We've got some buzz on a potential reunion with Bud Dupree. And then we have what I originally planned to talk about, which is trading for Treylon Burks potentially, and the Falcons maybe adding a safety. So if you're looking for an in-depth Atlanta Falcons YouTube channel, hit the sub button down below. Join 21,500 plus. But Adam Schefter earlier today tweeted out, free agent outside linebacker Bud Dupree concluded a visit with the Los Angeles Chargers, per source. Dupree also has been talking with the Falcons and the Steelers, 2 of the 3 teams for which he has played. Remember, he started his career off in Pittsburgh, maybe an Arthur Smith reunion, but let's focus on the Falcons here because last year Bud Dupree formed one of the top 2 pass rushers on the team, right? His 6.5 sacks were tied for a team high with Calais Campbell. He definitely showed signs of aging, and I'm not going to stand here and say that he's a, perfect fit for the Atlanta Falcons and he is the missing piece to this puzzle on defense, but I'm definitely going to stand here and say he'd be an addition and a good addition as well. Like, when you look at their linebacker room, you go from having Bud Dupree and Arnold Ebiketie as your 2 starters to Lorenzo Carter, who saw his role greatly diminished last year. D'Angelo Malone was primarily a special teamer. So I definitely think when it comes to pass rushers with the Falcons, more is more. And there's never enough bodies and guys you can have. So by all means, Oprah Winfrey style, you can get a contract from the Falcons. You can get a contract from the Falcons. If you can get after the quarterback, get your ass to Flowery Branch, and I want to see it work out. So, should Atlanta re-sign Bud Dupree? If we get more buzz on this, we'll keep you guys informed. But right now, sounds like we just have a little game of chicken and flirting going on between Bud Dupree, his agent, and then 3 different NFL teams maybe trying to drive up the price. All right, let's talk about Treylon Burks now. So, the former first-round pick out of Arkansas by the Tennessee Titans, which unfortunately for him is best known as the A.J. Brown replacement because the Titans foolishly traded A.J. Brown for a first, used it to draft Treylon Burks to reset at the position, and it's been an absolute failure ever since. So remove that part of the equation because that's not Treylon Burks' fault. Treylon Burks, just as a player for the Titans, has been underwhelming. For starters, he's played just 11 games in back-to-back seasons, 22 games total, 11 games in each year, and has not been very productive in either season. But there is no question in my mind that the Falcons' wide receiver room is on the skinnier side. And last year, that was able to work because the Falcons were one of the fewest teams or one of the least teams that used 11 personnel groupings, which I'll expand on later. But basically, they didn't want to have 3 wide receivers on the field very often, so they didn't need to have 3 starting quality wide receivers. Now they do, and I'm not sold on this wide receiver room. In fact, I think you could make a really solid argument that wide receiver is a bigger need for this team right now than edge rusher, defensive end, pass rusher. The Falcons really need a wide receiver. I know we've shared this graphic with you before, but if you're just kind of waking up, when you look at the 11 personnel usage last year in the NFL, the Rams, which is where the Falcons' new offensive coordinator comes over from, they were first 93% of the time. 11 personnel means 1 running back, 1 tight end, and then the rest are wide receivers, which in this case is 3. 21 personnel, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and then 2 wide receivers. So we're looking at teams that like to have your traditional kind of West Coast style offense of 5 offensive linemen, 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 tight end, and then 9, 10, 11 are all wide receivers. The Falcons were nearly dead last in that last year. That's because Arthur Smith wanted to run the football. He liked to have bigger formations with an extra lineman, an extra tight end, an extra running back. He didn't need to have 3 wide receivers to do what he wanted to do offensively. But you can tell that the way the Falcons and the Falcons offense will be run now with a Rams and Vikings influence, with Kirk Cousins coming over from Minnesota and a lot of the coaching staff coming from LA, they're going to run, most likely, a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. And I'm not convinced that Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Rondale Moore are adequate enough to run 3 wide receiver sets for 17 games. Drake London absolutely is. He's just unfortunately lumped into this conversation. But I like Darnell Mooney, and I like Rondale Moore because you were able to get something for Desmond Ridder. But if an injury pops up to one of these 3 guys, there's just basically a bunch of UDFAs and late day 3 draft picks sitting behind them. So there is concern on my end. Darnell Mooney, though, definitely will have a large role in this offense. I mean, for starters, they paid him a good chunk of change. But I think that he's going to have much more success. I hope he does, and I hope the Falcons are listening and watching to this right now, as long as Atlanta uses him better than Chicago did. At the end of his time with the Bears, the guy was playing nearly 2/3 of his snaps out of the slot. He is not a slot wide receiver, and the numbers reflect that, compared to when he started his career off in Chicago, when they used him primarily as an outside wide receiver, and the guy had much better production. My fear is the Falcons are going to try and run a Sean McVay-style offense, 3 wide receiver sets to keep it simple, and they're not going to have the correct personnel, right? They are trying to maybe shove a triangle into a circle. And my fear is they are going to try and ask something out of their players that they are not designed to do, right? The Falcons need to get more depth at the wide receiver position if they plan on running what Zach Robinson and the Rams did for so long, which is heavy pass, wide receiver sets. You need a lot of depth at that spot. The issue is when it comes to trading for Treylon Burks, I think he sucks. So, yes, while I stand here and advocate for another wide receiver coming to the Falcons, I'm not sold on the former first-round pick out of Arkansas being that man. Yes, when you're a former first-round pick, you kind of get some benefit of the doubt and you get some extra slack. But look at what he's done through 2 seasons. 665 yards and 1 touchdown would sound like an okay rookie year for a first-round pick. Not great, but not awful, right? We can work with that. Went through 22 games, and the guy doesn't even have 50 grabs yet. Yeah, cause for concern is real at this point. So if it comes to a trade, we saw the Falcons trade for a former first-round pick last year, and Jeff Okudah. They gave up a fifth-round pick for him. Maybe they would do something similar for Treylon Burks, a fifth-round pick to Tennessee. The Titans recently added another wide receiver after signing Calvin Ridley in free agency and then signing DeAndre Hopkins in free agency last year. So it looks like they were ready to roll with a new wide receiver group. So Treylon Burks could be available for trade as a result. Now, would you guys be open to trading for the Tennessee Titans wide receiver? Give me a yes or give me a no. I always love hearing what you have to say in the comment section. So please sound off for me down below. Now, next up on the show, I want to look at ESPN's biggest need/roster hole for Atlanta and what they picked. But first, if you want to up your kitchen and you want to get yourself a brand new set of Atlanta Falcons pints, go to chatsports.com/Falcons pints. They're great for yourself, and they also make for a great gift. So if you've got a friend that loves to spend time at breweries, loves to have a cold one, get them some or her brand new Falcons pints. I put that link for you all in the comments and description of today's video. Plus, I should have mentioned, they're on sale. You're losing money by not getting them. Legally, I can't say that, but you get the gist. Now, the Falcons' biggest roster hole, according to ESPN, strong safety. I invite the folks at Bristol to watch the first half of today's video, specifically about the wide receiver unit, because I would disagree on the biggest hole being strong safety. But I see where they're coming from, right? Jesse Bates is fantastic. DeMarco Hellams, 7th-round pick last year. There's a lot of optimism, but there's nothing guaranteed there. And then Richie Grant, the former 2nd-round pick, unfortunately, has been treading in the wrong direction. My take, if you will, is I view safeties as a luxury position. If you're building a team and you're starting over from scratch, safety is not one of the first positions you'll target. So the Falcons having 2 high-quality starting safeties would be a luxury. I don't think Atlanta is there yet. I still think they need to check the boxes on some of the fundamental positions, the cornerstone pieces. Quarterback, check. Double check. Tackle, Jake Matthews, check. Cornerback, outside of A.J. Terrell, can we check that box? Not so sold yet. Wide receiver, not sold on checking that box yet. Right? All those 4 positions right I just said right there. Oh, and of course, pass rusher. Pass rusher, definitely not checked. Those 5 groups right there are the most commonly drafted groups in the top 10 of the NFL draft, in the first round of the NFL draft, for a reason. They are the most important positions to be successful. And safety just doesn't quite make the cut. So while I would love to have 2 great safeties for the Falcons, I think there are bigger fires to attend to. But here's what Aaron Schatz wrote from ESPN. Jesse Bates is a star at free safety, but the Falcons' strong safety position is a mess. Richie Grant has regressed significantly in his 3 NFL seasons, in particular giving up a lot of big plays to opposing tight ends. The alternative to Grant is 2023 7th-rounder DeMarco Hellams. He's physical but lacks speed, so he might also be a problem when covering tight ends. Micah Abernathy is primarily a special teams gunner. Lucas Dennis spent all last year on Atlanta's practice squad. I'm not disagreeing with Aaron that Richie Grant and DeMarco Hellams may not be the most inspiring starting strong safety for a team going into the year. But I disagree that it is their biggest roster hole. I would absolutely put wide receiver, edge rusher, cornerback above strong safety. Strong safety is like, all right, we've taken care of all the other cornerstone pieces on our team. Now we can kind of have some fun and get not 1, but 2 awesome safeties. And there are some really good safeties in the free agent market right now. How Justin Simmons is still available is beyond me. But there are some really high-quality starting safeties. Like, I think Simmons, Eddie Jackson, Quandre Diggs, Micah Hyde. Like, these are all starting caliber guys at a plus level. Now, of this list of free agent safeties, a couple of names that jump out to me. Eddie Jackson, he played with the Bears his entire career up to getting released, which means he was drafted by Ryan Pace, who now works in the Falcons front office. We've seen a lot of Bears come down to Atlanta. Jamal Adams is a big name. However, I'm not really sure if he's what the Falcons need schematically. Like, Jamal Adams is kind of a hybrid linebacker safety. Atlanta's pretty good at inside linebacker, aren't they? So maybe for their pass rushing woes, they could be interested in Jamal Adams, but not sold on him. John Johnson, he was with the Browns and then the Rams, then Browns, then Rams again. He also, of course, played under Jimmy Lake and Raheem Morris last year in LA. So we could see a reunion happen there, although Johnson only played like 40% of the snaps last year for the Rams. So I'm not sold that he is one of Raheem Morris's guys. Otherwise, he probably would have played a little bit more last year. But those are some names to float out there as guys that maybe Atlanta could have some interest in. But do you think the Falcons should add a safety? I'm okay, honestly, with DeMarco Hellams and Richie Grant. Could you maybe do better? Sure, I understand that. But I think at some point you do have to put some, stock into your own young draft picks and try and see them pan out. If you always try and just sign a veteran to a one-year deal to cover up your holes, they're Band-Aids, but you're not addressing the position long-term. DeMarco Hellams could be a long-term fit for the Falcons at safety. Would one of those guys be better for 2024? Probably. Is that guy going to be here in 2026, 2027? Unlikely. Hellams could be. So at some point, you got to roll the dice in some of your younger draft picks. Now, I do want to hit on some other news that happened, which is the rookie jersey numbers were announced. Michael Penix is wearing number 9. Very good number. I'm a big believer in jersey numbers. I think it is inappropriate and juvenile to see some players in the NFL wear numbers they have no business wearing. Defensive linemen wearing numbers like 5, grotesque. I know I'm wildly unpopular for that take, but I'm a bit traditional when it comes to jersey numbers. I like number 9 for Michael Penix. 48 for Braylon Trice. That's a solid number. I don't know if that's going to be a great run stopper, but that's okay. We'll take pass rushing help. I like 98 for Big Rook Rororo from Clemson. I just feel like that's a guy that no offensive lineman wants to line up against. Like, fucking 98. This is going to be a long Sunday. And then 54 for Brandon Dorlus. Seems like a low number for a defensive lineman. Zion Logue, by the way, too big for 59. He's got to be like in the 70s maybe. But that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, consider going ahead and doing so, and we'll see you all later. Are there bots? Hi, man. We got bots.
Do we?
Yeah,
it's
bots.
annoying.
I haven't had bots in a while. Okay.
Simon's got
All right, bots are gone. Bots are gone. Sorry about the bots. All right. What is the chat saying? We've got Dave Joseph here. Good to see you, Dave. I feel like it's been a few weeks. Dave typing ATL. Yeah, Michael really put a whole bunch of annoying stuff in the chat. Get him out.
I apologize for that.
Yeah. Let's see. What do we think? Strong safety? Biggest need?
No.
Absolutely no shot. No shot. Strong safety.
When your team won 7 games last year, there are bigger needs than strong safety.
100%.
Strong safety could be an appropriate need for a team like the Ravens.
Yeah. It's one of those.
Which, by the way, they don't need help at safety. I'm saying, like,
Right.
when you were, like,
Hypothetically,
that close, right? Or, like,
Right,
the
right.
Chiefs, like, ooh, when you get to the AFC, NFC Championship game and you give up a big play to Mahomes or Allen,
Yeah.
you go into the offseason going, all right, we've got to plug that hole. It's leaking water.
Yeah.
There's a lot of water leaking for the 2023 Falcons.
You know
strong
what
safety is the last hole to plug.
You know what strong safety is? Imagine getting like your first car when you're like young. Say it's like a used car you get for like however much money, right? And it's got a lot of work that needs to it. Like you probably need to get its oil changed. You probably need to make sure the tires are straight. You need to make sure the engine, maybe it's got a little bit of body work to work on. And instead of doing any of that, you go out and you get some subs.
Yeah.
You get some subwoofers. You're trying to make it loud and everything. And it's like Yeah, that can add to the car and it can make it, cool to ride in, but that's not the necessarily main need that you have.
I see your Colin Cowherd analogy.
I know.
Can I raise you one?
Sure, go ahead.
Were you in Cub Scouts at all?
I actually was for a year.
Did you ever do the Pinewood Derby?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For everyone that did the Pinewood Derby, we all remember that when you built your car, you just wanted to skip to the decoration side of it.
Uh-huh.
You didn't actually want to do the boring work that your dad ended up doing, which is like cutting into the car with your pocket knife and putting the tires on.
Like the glue.
And the glue and all that.
Yeah.
You just wanted to put stickers on it.
Yeah, you wanted to make it look cool.
Yeah, strong safety is the stickers.
Yep.
We're not at that stage yet. I hate to burst your bubble. I don't think the Falcons are there yet. They are closer than they were a few months ago, but no, we're not there yet.
Yeah, we both just went.
Yeah,
There we go.
that was a deep Colin Cowherd type of analogy. I like Penix wearing number 9. It's what he wore at Washington, so it's not like a real big surprise.
All right, let me throw this at you. I feel like for lefties, odd numbers just look better on a lefty. It's a weird take, I know.
Because odds are odd.
Odds are odd.
You're odd.
Yeah, exactly.
Lefties are odd.
So like,
I kind of like that take.
that's not a bad
Hadn't
one.
thought about it that way.
Yeah, so like Michael Vick, number 7.
Right.
Penix,
If Vic wore like 12, I don't
That'd be
think
weird.
he's
That'd
in
be
the
weird.
NFL after like 2 years, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Like-
Jamarcus Russell potential. What was Jamarcus Russell? I think he was 7.
Well, he was a righty. Russell was a righty.
He was a righty.
Yeah, he was.
Who am I thinking of then?
I'm trying to think. Lefties that I can
Oh,
think
he
of
was
off the
a
top of my
righty.
head, like Mark Brunell was a lefty.
I'm thinking of the Raiders have like 5 different lefty quarterbacks. I think Ken Stabler was a lefty.
Yeah.
Someone help me. Tua
is 1.
is 1.
That's number 1.
Yeah.
Like
Tua is 1.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like lefties have to be an odd number.
I kind of like that take a lot.
I don't often get that reaction from PD, so when I do, that's
Maisie Osborne, just glad number 9 is no longer Ritter.
that's fair.
Can I be honest?
That's fair.
Didn't even think about it that way. And I think that's just a reflection of how forgettable the Desmond Ritter time in Atlanta was. Like, just didn't even think like, oh man, that's Ritter's number. Ritter did he even really have a number? He had like 9.5.
Yeah.
He got like half a number.
Whatever number of fumbles he had
Yeah.
during his career, I guess that was the number. Yeah, no, look, hey, new age here in Atlanta.
Yep, new age. Okay, so biggest super chat, by the way, which right now is going to Grand Limousine for $20, gets to pick a future show topic. So if there is something you really want me to talk about and you want to support the channel in the process, biggest super chat right now, that number is $20 to beat. You get to pick a future show topic, and we'll go in depth on whatever it is you want, what you would like to talk about. So Grand Limousine, right now it is yours for the taking. So start thinking, buddy. Are we ready to jump into our second segment here? We're going to look at 5 players that I think will flourish under Raheem Morris's control and what Raheem Morris brings to the Falcons from a schematic standpoint and what he wants to do to be successful. Which guys could see a boost in their role as a result?
Yeah, we got 160 viewers and only 58 likes.
Yeah, we got to get to like 70 likes. Can we get 12 more likes before we start our next segment, please?
It is free. So, also,
It
if
is
you
free.
if you hit a like before we start our next segment, I'll give you, and you type me down in the chat,
Oh, I like
I'll give you
that.
a shout out.
Yeah, type me in the chat if you've already liked the video. That way we can recognize where the real ones are, as we like to say here at Chat Sports.
Yeah.
Start spamming me if you've already liked the video. We are 9 likes away from 70 likes.
Shout
Ty
out.
Man the Buckeye.
Ty Man, Boom, TGG, shout out to you. Quentin, hopefully I pronounced that right. Shout out to you guys. Lav, Scott, Boom, D-Rob, Anthony.
I love this from Anthony. These aren't rumors. I don't tell you when an Adam Schefter tweet says he met with the Falcons. Like, do you think they were meeting to play Madden?
Yeah.
Like,
Catch up.
what was the meeting about, dude?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Hey, it says you perfectly pronounced our friend Quentin. Is that how you said it?
Yeah, Quentin. Yeah. Shout out. I've never seen Quentin spelled that way, so
Yeah.
that's awesome.
I have a feeling that is a Dutch spelling of the name.
I can believe that.
I get major Netherlands vibes from that.
Anthony says, "Where's all the profanity?" You get PD on a topic.
Yeah,
he'll let
four
it fly.
4 likes to go, and then we're at 70 likes. So 3 likes to go. Hit the thumbs up button if you have not already.
Shout out to RKD.
Jorge,
Mozzie,
why are we
Eric.
texting me? If you like the video, type me and we'll give you a shout out. Oh, Belgium, wrong. Lowland country. Damn it. Okay. Are we ready to jump into a live show?
Well, we are in a live show.
Oh, I mean a segment.
We are ready whenever you are, sir.
Here we go. Okay. Let's jump into 5 players that I think are going to flourish under Raheem Morris as the man in charge for the Atlanta Falcons. On today's video, I want to look at 5 players that I think are going to flourish, that Raheem Morris is now the head coach. Because we see some guys see a increase in their role depending on what the new head coach's scheme is offensively or defensively. And some guys see a decrease in their role. So here are 5 guys that I think are going to really flourish with Raheem Morris calling the shots. Let's start with outside linebacker Arnold Ebiketie, the second-round pick out of Penn State. He showed a good boost in production from year 1 to year 2, but I do believe that with Jimmy Lake and Raheem Morris coming to Atlanta and running a true 3-4 defense, because we went from Pease to Nielsen, now to Lake, 3 consecutive years of brand new defensive coordinators. Some stability for starters will likely help Ebiketie, but also running a true 3-4 defense, which the Falcons did last year, but every once in a while we saw Nielsen add a 4-3 wrinkle in a little bit. He was much more of a hybrid front, if you will. And Ebiketie still put up really good numbers last year. For it being his second year, 6 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles. Like, there was some promising play from the former Penn State Nittany Lion. But what I really noticed was when you look at his pass rushing snaps, which is opportunities where the edge rusher had to go get after the quarterback and they weren't on the field for a run play, 175 snaps in 2023. This is from Pro Football Focus. 303 in 2022. So nearly sawed off in half. Despite that, a huge jump in production in sacks. And I think now that he's in a 3-4 full committed defense, we're going to see Arnold Ebiketie have his role and overall production really increase. Now, what does that look like? I'm not sure if that means like 13, 14 sacks, right? That would be top 5 in the NFL pretty much. But if he can encroach to 9, maybe even 10 sacks, that'd be a huge sigh of relief for the Falcons front office. So keep an eye on Arnold. But should the Falcons add another edge rusher? I want your opinion really quickly. Give me a yes, give me a no. I still think there is room to add another pass rusher in this locker room. Next guy is linebacker Kaden Elliss. Now, this one might come as a little bit of a surprise, but hear me out, because I do think Kaden Elliss can maybe get back to a little bit of what he did his final year in New Orleans, where he went off for 7 sacks in a contract year as kind of an off-ball linebacker. But I am basing this off of the Rams' 2023 defense, which Raheem Morris was the defensive coordinator for. And last year, LA blitzed 24% of the time. That was good for 16th in the NFL, right in the middle. The Atlanta Falcons, for reference, were right behind the Rams. But when you think about blitzing, defensive coordinators don't have to blitz if they can get pressure from their front 4. And when you've got a guy like Aaron Donald, you can probably bank on him getting enough pressure where you don't need to send linebackers to generate pressure to the quarterback. However, Raheem Morris is a smart dude, and I'm sure he's going to realize he does not have Aaron Donald anymore. No offense to Grady Jarrett or David Onyemata, but Aaron Donald is in a tier of his own, which means if you don't have a whole bunch of horses coming off the edge and you're kind of working off a committee pass rushing rotation and you don't have that clear-cut number 1 alpha dog, you may want to dip into your linebackers to start blitzing more. And that's where Kaden Elliss could see a jump in his production and role on this defense, because he has no problem getting after the quarterback. Look at what he did in 2022 when he was on the Saints. 7 sacks. Last year with the Falcons, a little bit of a regression, 4 sacks, but I mean, I think that's just a big part of what his role was for the Falcons, is they didn't ask on him to get into the backfield as much as maybe New Orleans did. So I think you can expect to see Kaden Ellis' blitzes overall pick up, especially if Raheem Morris is knowing that he doesn't have like a dominant number 1 pass rusher coming off the edge that can just get to the quarterback in a clutch moment. If he feels the need to dial up some pressure, Kaden Elliss is probably going to be a guy he sends to the offense. Because like I said, the Falcons front five, I think there's a lot more optimism inside of Flowery Branch than maybe outside about this unit altogether and their ability to generate penetration and overall pressure on the quarterback. But when push comes to shove and they need a big stop and they want to send someone on a blitz, Elliss is your man. So that's why Kaden Elliss, in my eyes, is someone that could benefit from Raheem Morris coming to town, because if he wants to blitz more, that's his man. Now, before we look at the rest of the players that could receive a big boost in their role, I do want to tell everyone watching about all of our favorite sponsor, Prize Picks. That's right, baby. Daily fantasy made easy, where all you've got to do is pick 2 to 6 players and then choose more or less on their projected stats. And you can win big money. I'm talking like turning $10 into $1,000 plus. So with Prize Picks, they have all these great deals that they run throughout the week. And in fact, they like to just give out freebies, essentially. So if you notice that for Caitlin Clark's WNBA debut, as long as she scores 1 point, you're halfway home to getting your selections correct. So for example, if you just do 2 player selections, include Caitlin Clark, you've already got that one pretty much done, because I've got a good feeling she'll get over half a point. Then you get 1 more, and you are 2 for 2, and you are home free. So download Prize Picks today and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. But download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Third player I think could flourish with Raheem Morris in charge now is tight end Kyle Pitts. Now, there's no denying that Arthur Smith wanted Kyle Pitts to succeed. It wasn't like that was a player he inherited. He was a big part of that being the 5th overall pick for the Atlanta Falcons. At this point, I'm just trying to speak it into existence. I just want to see it work. For Falcons fans' sake and for the Atlanta Falcons organization, it's best for everyone if Kyle Pitts and the Falcons can figure out a way to get his immensely oversaturated amount of talent onto the field. Now, one way I think we could see Raheem Morris boost Kyle Pitts up that the previous regime did not, in the red zone. In Kyle Pitts' career, 3 years, 24 red zone targets, 10 receptions, 4 touchdowns. In 1 year with Puka Nacua and the Rams, and keep in mind a lot of this coaching staff comes over from LA, but just stick with me here. In 1 season, Puka Nacua had 16 targets, 9 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Through 3 years, Kyle Pitts has 10 grabs in the red zone. Puka Nacua in 1 year had 9 grabs. Now, is Puka Nacua some major red zone threat? He's got good size. He's not like 5'10" or anything like that. But I think this is just a sign of the Rams like to go to their star players when they get close to the end zone. And for whatever reason, that is not what Arthur Smith did last year with Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson. And he had to have, I think, maybe like a behind-the-door bit of a lashing from his boss. So hopefully Raheem Morris will learn what he and Sean McVay did so well, which is when we get to the red zone, don't get cute with it. Go to your best players, like Puka Nacua last year, 9 grabs. Kyle Pitts in 3 years, just 10 grabs in the red zone. Hopefully that is something that we see this Zach Robinson-led offense adapt and bring over from the City of Angels, which is, gets to the red zone, go to your stars, like Kyle Pitts. So will we finally have that true, undoubted Kyle Pitts breakout season? Give me a 1 for yes or give me a 2 for no. Every year I'm hopeful, and there are a lot of reasons as to why Kyle Pitts just hasn't quite lived up to the expectations of being the 4th overall pick. I don't think anyone's going to deny that, but hopefully this is the year. 4th guy I think could flourish under Raheem Morris is a newbie. It is wide receiver Darnell Mooney. Allow me to explain. So first off, whenever a player signs a 3-year, $39 million size contract, there is some level of say coming in from the head coach. And Raheem Morris said in his introductory press conference he wanted to work side by side with the GM, like Les Snead and Sean McVay did in LA. So clearly this was a signing that Raheem Morris had some say and some part in. Now, Mooney is coming off, unfortunately, a career low year for the Bears, 414 yards, 31 grabs. But when you give a guy $39 million over 3 years, you are expecting them to have a good role in your offense or defense, which means I fully expect Darnell Mooney to get his targets. Like, this is a player that's coming down to Atlanta because the Falcons have a specific vision for him, and they are going to want to force feed him the football. And maybe at times it could be a bit nauseating because you've got other guys to go to, but I expect Darnell Mooney to have plays drawn up where the goal is to get the ball to number 11. Like, not to the level of what other star wide receivers receive, but he's going to have a good-sized role. But if that's not enough to convince you, I did some digging, and I think you guys might get a kick out of some of the advanced stats that I was able to find. So what I did was I went back to 2021. That was Darnell Mooney's best year in his 4 seasons with Chicago. And I looked at intermediate receiving yards. Intermediate receiving yards is from 10 to 19 yards, right? Long is 20 plus, short is 0 to 9, and then there's behind the line of scrimmage. So we're talking 10 to 19 yards. Darnell Mooney finished 9th in the NFL in intermediate receiving yards in 2021, ahead of guys like Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase. So that is somewhere where Darnell Mooney makes his money. That is his go-to comfort spot. Maybe not the super-duper deep long ball like Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp. Intermediate zone, Darnell Mooney flourishes. Now, what do you know? Kirk Cousins, the last time he played a full season, 2022, intermediate passing, number 3 in the NFL. And what's most impressive is he's not third in intermediate passing because that's all he threw, 15-yard passes. In fact, he did very little of it. Only 10, not even 10% of his pass attempts in 2022 were intermediate passes, okay? Compare that to guys below and above him who, sure, some had more yards, but some had way more cracks at it, like Josh Allen and Russell Wilson. Like, Kirk Cousins loved the intermediate pass. Darnell Mooney, really good at the intermediate reception. Can you see the connection starting to form? And then my 5th and final flourish candidate is offensive tackle, left tackle specifically, Jake Matthews. Why does Jake Matthews flourish with a new head coach when Jake Matthews is a lunch pail guy that's going to kick ass no matter who's on the sideline? Because I think Jake Matthews may have a slight preference in what he's asked to do as an offensive tackle. You can look over the last 4 years in his PFF grades. He is a much better pass blocker than run blocker. What did Arthur Smith like to do? Run the football. What was Jake Matthews' maybe slight weakness? Run blocking. As you get up in age, it's a little bit tougher for your tackles to get to the second level, to track down some of those fast linebackers. Meanwhile, what is the Atlanta Falcons' new offense going to look like with Robinson and Raheem Morris? I mean, if we just go off of history, pass attempts. Last year, the Rams finished 14th. In 2022, when Kirk Cousins played the entire season, they finished 3rd. Falcons last year were 25th in pass attempts. So Jake Matthews, a much better pass blocker than run blocker, is about to join an offense that is much more pass happy than they were previously under Arthur Smith. So I think we're going to see a boost from Matthews because of what this new offense could look like. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. I do want to get your voice in, though, on the comment section side of things. Who do you think the biggest winner is from the Raheem Morris hire? Which guy is praying to the high heavens? Because Raheem Morris is now his head coach. For me, I'd probably say like Terry Fontenot. If it was Bill Belichick, Terry Fontenot would probably be locked in a small closet on NFL draft day. Like, that seems like Belichick going, oh, I didn't know that there was a lock on this. My bad, dude. We'll let you out on Sunday when it's all over. So, biggest winner, probably Terry Fontenot. But that will do it for us on this edition of Falcons Today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, I invite you to do so. If you liked our video and you're still watching, hit the thumbs up button as well.
I'm very interested to see how this offense looks. Obviously, with all the new weapons, new coaching staff, and everything. But one of the things that I've noticed, at least from watching the Rams, a little bit more than I probably should have. Like you said, they go to their guys.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, whoever it is.
Dude, like when Cooper Kupp was going off the Triple Crown year,
Mhm.
they just force-fed him the football.
Of course.
And I'm sure there's partially responsibility that lies with Matthew Stafford in that.
Mhm.
But, like, they go to their guys.
Yeah, they do.
So Kyle Pitts, I
Yeah.
think, is going to have a strong year. I
Yeah.
do.
And I think, Drake London could also benefit. Darnell Mooney, like you mentioned. Bijan. All these guys.
I always think it's a bad idea. Bad's a strong word. You're setting yourself up to be hurt when you draft players for your fantasy football team from your favorite team. But I think, I always try to stay away from it. But I think there is some truth to, like, that Darnell Mooney section. Like, he's going to be a very late draft pick in fantasy football leagues. I think he's going to have a pretty good-sized role, and he'll punch above his weight class for where other guys are going, right? If you're in, like, a 10-man league, I would guess his average draft pick, if there's like 16 rounds, probably like a round 12 to 13 guy.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely not going first 5 rounds.
If the ADPs are already out, someone fact check me. Like, if it's a 10-man league, that would be around like pick 120-ish.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Maybe he goes between 10 and 11. I think he's going to have a pretty good season. I like Darnell Mooney. I always thought $39 million was a big number for a guy with 400-plus yards last year.
Yeah.
But that's kind of also the nature of free agency. You always sort of overpay a little bit because, they are free agents. They can sign elsewhere in this competition. Like, I was watching Shark Tank yesterday, and Mr. Wonderful made a really insulting low offer. And then Kevin Hart was on the show. And him and Lori, I think it was, I don't remember, they teamed up. And then Mr. Wonderful's like, there's competition now. I will make my offer better. And I was like, whoa, Mr. Wonderful, you never do that.
Yeah. I think Falcons fans are going to be really happy that Kirk Cousins is throwing their weapons to football.
All right,
Simple.
we have a mailbag coming up next, so #Falcons if you want to get on screen, or if you want to guarantee a spot on screen and skip the line, if you so to speak, super chat. If you super chat, greatly appreciate it. Really helps grow the show. And the biggest super chatter today, which right now is $20 from Grand Limousine. Remember last week we had like a pissing match between the super chats? What was the?
It was
was
Grand
the-
Limousine, and then it was oh my god, I'm gonna blank.
What was like the cause of it? Someone refresh my memory.
Yeah, no, I remember.
What
It was-
caused like the super chat battle?
I think it was just like
One guy did not like me as a host,
yeah,
and then he kind of warmed up in his later super chats.
but it was also because it was the fact that they kept going back and forth. 'Cause
Yeah.
we were talking about limousine and riding because you had that thing you were going to, right? And
I got a wedding.
Yeah, that you were or soon to be going.
Yeah, at the start of June.
Yeah.
That's gonna be here soon.
So yeah.
Mhm.
Also, by the way, we got 4 questions left. Love to get some more.
Yeah, get some questions in #Falcons or super chat as we get ready for our mailbag here. I've got Jorge. Is Mooney keeping that 11 jersey? I think he is. I don't remember him saying or seeing he's picking a different number. So I'm inclined to believe he is picking it. Grand Limousine, good to see you in the chat. Speak of the devil. Maybe we can get Pitts going this year. I sure hope so. Like, if it doesn't work this year, I'll tell you what. If it does not work this year, talk about prime trade candidate for next offseason, where it's like new regime. They couldn't really even figure it out. Maybe it's just kind of one of those things where it's not meant to be in Atlanta. I don't know.
Yeah.
They picked up his 5th-year option, so there's a very good chance, of course, that he is here for the next 2 seasons, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah. Speaking of which, too, I mean, fantasy football. Kyle Pitts is a sneaky little hey.
So like I went away from Kyle Pitts like the last 2 years.
Yeah. I got burned after his rookie year because I drafted him his second year coming off of like the rookie year that he had.
He probably like round 2 or 3 that year too.
Round 3.
Yeah.
And I got burned.
Mhm.
But hey, you know what? I still believe in Kyle Pitts because, I mean,
Dude, the guy's 6'6",
yeah, he's an athletic just monster.
and like 230, 240.
Like he is a man amongst boys in the NFL at times. And
Yeah.
it's insane.
I try not to fall trap to the traits, the physical size and speed for determining a guy's success, because there's always a lot of really good track stars in college football, but it's football, not track.
Right.
He's 6'6", 245. Did he ever run a 40-yard dash? I don't think he did.
I'm pretty sure he was either 4.4s or 4.5s as a tight
Yeah.
end. Let me see.
Oh, was Darnell Mooney wearing number 1? That actually sounds familiar. I think Scott's right. I think he may be wearing 1. I need a jersey number refresher
Yeah, he
before
ran
training
a
camp.
4.44.
That's just ridiculous.
A man that size running
Yeah.
that quick. I mean, it's what can you even say to that? You know,
Nothing.
nothing at all. Yeah, but remember, get those super chats if you'd like, or if you just want to get on the show, use #Falcons, and chances are I'm going to pick you. So.
#Falcons or Super Chat in the comment section right now. Any question about the Atlanta Falcons, OTAs, mini camp, schedule release, whatever it may be, #Falcons, and Colin picks his favorite questions. And if you want to guarantee a spot on screen and support the show at the same time, Super Chat, greatly, greatly appreciated. Like Grand Limousine did. Appreciate you, Grand Limousine. Always hanging out with us here at Falcons Today.
Literally anything. Hypothetical maybe situations, new rookie numbers. I mean, anything you guys want to talk about. So feel free.
Should we jump into our mailbag?
We can, yeah.
All right, let's get the mailbag ready. I'm going to call on Jorge to ask a question. Tony, I want to see you ask a question. And let's go with, Michael already did. Appreciate you, Michael. And TGG. Putting all three of you on the hot seat right now. Get a question in. All right, let's jump into a live Falcons mailbag. Welcome into Falcons Today mailbag time here. I'm answering questions that were asked during our live show, which airs every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. But Larry67, what do you think about the Falcons trading for DK Metcalf? Heard Seattle may be retooling. There's been some very low-level chatter about a DK Metcalf trade that ultimately I don't think has much ground to stand on at all. I don't think it holds very much water, but sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. So sure, I'll at least entertain the possibility of it, but I'll caution you right now to say, don't look at this and run with DK Metcalf getting traded. Metcalf last year, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, one of the best seasons of his NFL career. And I think the Seahawks find themselves in a weird spot where they don't want to admit that they're not real contenders. But I think deep down they're like, yeah, Geno Smith may have been a little bit of a flash in the pan in 2022, and it's probably not going to work out when it comes to playoff wins under Geno. So maybe Seattle would be interested in a surprise trade and try and recoup some good draft assets and get ready for the future. My guess is if they want to do that, they'll go other ways. They're not going to move on from a young, ascending wide receiver. If they were to trade DK Metcalf, you know what they're going to use that draft pick they get for him? They're going to use it on a wide receiver. And they're going to hope he's as good as DK Metcalf. And sure, that next wide receiver will be a fraction of the cost for DK Metcalf, but to me, I don't think it makes a lot of sense for Seattle. So that's really the first point of attack. From Atlanta's point of view, hell yeah. Who wouldn't want a DK Metcalf trade? Do the Falcons need a slightly bigger Drake London? Probably not. It's not the thing that's missing from this wide receiver room, but they'll just take talent. And I think that would be a big boost for Kirk Cousins and Raheem Morris in year one. But I would not give this a good chance of happening. But it is the NFL. Who thought Michael Penix would get picked 8th overall a month ago? So crazy stuff does happen. But would you trade for DK Metcalf? Give me a yes or give me a no down below in the comment section. Dat one Falcons fan. Xavier Howard / Stephon Gilmore on a 1-year, $8 million deal. Thoughts? Done. Done and done. They maybe want a little bit more than $8 million, but when it gets to May, June, July, money starts to dry up for free agents. So I think Stephon Gilmore is looking more likely to go to either the Cowboys, maybe the Patriots in a return there in Foxborough. Panthers could be a spot. The Bills. I know it's actually just all reunions for him, but those are the teams that I've heard mentioned more than others when it comes to Stephon Gilmore. Xavier Howard, I'm in. I know what Xavier Howard looked like last year. It was very far from that 10 interception season he had a few years ago, but I don't think that there's a downside to adding a veteran corner. Sure, you could stunt the growth of Clark Phillips, a day 3 pick last year out of Utah. But if Clark Phillips looks awesome in training camp, all right, you kind of eat your loss a little bit. And Arthur Blank maybe wasted some money on a veteran corner who doesn't have a large role. But I'd rather bring on a veteran corner in training camp than wait until like September, October when you're 2-4 because you were effing around at corner and then you decided, all right, this is not working for us. Carson, next one up on the show. Cornerback, tackle, or wide receiver with our first-round pick next year. Tough one. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of predictions that have to go on here. My suspicion would be cornerback. Because next year you may not have A.J. Terrell. If you don't extend him, he's a free agent after 2024. So even if you do extend him, if you don't get great play out of Clark Phillips, they didn't draft a corner this year, so they kind of need to reset at that position or bring in some youth, if you will. So I would be inclined to say cornerback very tentatively. Now, before we get to the rest of the questions on today's episode, if you want to get yourself an Atlanta Falcons pint glass set, go to chatsports.com/FalconsPints. I put that link for you all in the comments and description of today's video. My free life tip and hack, and it's not much of a hack, is put these bad boys in the freezer like 30 minutes before you're ready to have a cold one, watching a Braves game, watching a Falcons game in the future, and past you will thank future you when you have a cold beer. So get yourself a brand new set of Falcons pint glasses. They're on sale too. Chatsports.com/FalconsPints. They also make for great gifts as well. Boomstick season something. Do you think we could get Travis Hunter in next year's draft? Why are you guys so obsessed with the 2025 draft? Sure. I don't know what to make of I don't know what to make of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. They're maybe more so Shedeur than Travis. I'm sorry to lump or drag Shedeur into this, but I just feel like my very passive check-ins on Colorado football this offseason has been like a lot of talk. Kind of needs that talk get backed up with good play. And both those guys were good last year, but there was a lot of losing that also went on. So is it possible to get Travis Hunter? Yeah, I think it's possible. I think you could make a good argument that Travis Hunter is likely to be a early-ish first-round pick next year. And with Kirk Cousins, hopefully the Falcons are not picking early-ish next year. Carson, you're on the show. Where do you think we'll be selecting next year? What is with them? I think, late teens to early 20s. All right, there's 14 teams that make the playoffs. So what does that mean? The team picking 19th in the draft, I think it is. Yeah, the 19th pick in the draft is the first team to be eliminated from the playoffs. So I'll say the Falcons have the 23rd pick in the draft next year. Take it or leave it. 23rd pick in the draft. Carson, I do appreciate the question, though. Yeah. And that, by the way, is a big reason why they felt the need to go get Michael Penix this year. Because they felt like, hey, we expect to be picking in the 20s from here on out. And when you're picking in the 20s, it's tough to get a quarterback. And that's true. Like, there is a lot of history that points to, if you want a quarterback, like, you don't find them very late in the draft all that often. Sure, you have your outliers like Tom Brady and Brock Purdy, but very few far between you find later. The ironic thing is just that they referenced the Packers model when the Packers got Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love in the 20s. So that's where I was like, I don't think it's fair to compare it to the Packers when the Packers didn't use the 8th overall pick on a quarterback. They got guys in the 20s, which you said you don't want to do. We'll have to wait and see, of course. But for now, I don't know, somewhere in the 23 section here. We got a question rolling in from Eric Harrison. We'll throw it on screen for you in just a moment, Eric. Why do you believe we haven't restructured a few of the Caleb, Grady Jarrett, Onyemata, Jesse Bates, Jake Matthews, their contracts? We could get 2 of them and clear $12 to $16 million in cap. Okay, so let's just talk about here. Let's play full screen here. We have some graphical issues, but let's just talk about restructuring contracts because it's complicated, it's messy, and every time you think you have a good understanding of it, you discover that you don't know everything about it. When you restructure a contract, you are taking a player's base salary for that season, say 2024, and you are prorating it over the remaining years of their contract. So if they have 3 years left on their deal, you're taking that base salary, reducing it to the minimum, and then whatever fat you trimmed off, let's say it was $10 million, you're spreading that $10 million over the remaining years of their contract. That is a good thing to do. And by the way, you're also putting a huge amount of money into their signing bonus. And that's important. I'll get to that in a moment. But when you do restructure contracts, you have inflated their future cap hits. So you do not restructure contracts for players you do not see being here for the duration of their contract. So even if a part of you is like, we may want to move on from this guy before their contract is up, if you restructure their contract, you have pushed their cap hits to the end of the line, and then you want to cut that player, and you leave yourself with a ginormous dead cap hit. So that's one reason why teams can sometimes be afraid to restructure contracts. Another reason why is when you restructure a contract, you then put that money, like we said, you prorate it into signing bonuses. You need a rich owner to sign off on that. Because believe it or not, I know they're all billionaires, but there are some owners that when a GM calls them up and says, hey, I want to restructure this guy's contract, which means we need to sign a check today for $15 million. Can you do that for me, please? Some owners will say no. I think you could probably guess to who those owners may be, but there are some poor owners out there that like to cry poor and act like they can't do that. And they're lying. They can't do it. They don't want to do it because they are very content with spending just enough money to be somewhat competitive every few years. Luckily, the Atlanta Falcons have an owner who is willing to spend money. We saw that with Kirk Cousins, right? He spent a lot of money on Justin Bates last offseason, like back-to-back offseasons of big spending purchases. So why don't the Falcons restructure some of these guys' contracts? Some of them, they may not feel like they are going to be here for the duration of their contract. So that is one factor. They also may feel like we don't need to restructure contracts and kick the cap hit down the road when there's not a guy we want to spend it on right now. So that's another factor. Eric, appreciate your question. Rob, Falcons topic. Okay, we'll say that for later. Is Villa, what are likely next moves? Not hopeful, but actual moves. Okay, actual potential moves for the Falcons. Sorry, our graphics are not working at the moment, so I'm just kind of raw dogging this. But actual likely next moves, if we're thinking about just tiny little roster holes that need to be filled, I think this is more than just hopeful. I do think there is an edge rusher signing coming. I do believe that the Falcons will add a pass rusher between now and the start of the 2024 NFL season. So I know it's also a little bit of wishful thinking and hopeful, but I do think that is happening. Another spot, they've already added some veteran pieces at cornerback. I think they like their backup tackles because we saw last year a lot of teams lose their starting tackles, and that's a really important piece to have depth at. It's a cornerstone piece. They brought back Storm Norton. They have Rabel. They didn't draft one, so maybe there's another tackle signing coming in depth. Wide receiver, I think, would be another spot where following the OTAs and minicamp portion, if the coaches get their first look at some of these bottom of the depth chart wideouts, and they're like, yeah, this is just not going to cut it, we could see another wide receiver come along. So those would be some positions that I think you could see Atlanta bring some reinforcements to. All right, that will do it for us on our mailbag today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm sorry that at the end we ran into some technical difficulties, but as we all can relate, technology does not always behave when you need it to. But we're going to sign off, and we'll see you all later. All right, we're not signing off live, though. What happened?
Basically, there was network issues.
Titty City.
So basically, I tried to, pull it from the actual live stream. I tried resetting it and everything. It literally just was giving me the orange cancel circle of death.
Oh, that's not nice. That is not nice.
I apologize that I did not get y'all's thing up there. It was out of my control. Shout out to PD for powering through that. So.
Speak of the devil, Trey Dukes. I don't know if you were hanging out with us earlier, but we were literally talking about you and Mr. Limousine going back and forth. A $20 super chat rolling in from Mr. Trey Dukes. Trey Dukes is rising up my leaderboard of like respect level because we do not see eye to eye, and that's pretty clear. But we're still gonna have a fun, Discord. $20 super chat from Mr. Trey Dukes. By the way, Trey, that ties you with Grand Limousine for the biggest super chat today. The biggest super chat gets to pick a future show topic. Are we able to pull super chats, or is that not working?
Nope, none of them are.
Okay.
They're all, like I said, I'm going to keep trying to work on
Here,
it.
just build this one manual.
Okay.
Just build it and put it in the social.
Yep, give me a sec. I can do it.
Yeah, Trey Dukes, I see you're still angry about this Penix pick. Just a reminder, you're wrong. First off, what part today? When did I say today I was mad about the Penix pick? Like, you got to at least give me credit. If I'm not going to bring it up, you can't bring it up and say you're still mad about it. I didn't do anything today. I've been hanging out talking with you guys for an hour and 13 minutes, and I don't think I've said a single negative thing about the Michael Penix pick. Someone fact check me, but I don't think I've said a single negative thing about that. So, Grand Limousine with a $20 super chat. My only rebuttal I'll say is, please ask yourself this: did you want them to draft Michael Penix 8th overall before the draft? If your answer is yes, and your wish came true, then honestly, truthfully, great for you, because that's a tough thing to predict, and to see that actually happen, if that's what you wanted to see happen, that's incredible. But if you're just warming up to the idea because that's the pick that was made, I'm not going to fault you for that, because I too try to always be like a half glass full person. I'm not like Frank from Barstool that is just like convinced that their team is always trying to make bad picks to ruin his mental health. But I still struggle with wrapping my head around this one. Trey Dukes, I do appreciate your super chat. We got a $20 super chat from Trey Dukes. Then Grand Limousine came back with a $20 super chat. And now we've got a LeBron and Kobe, a LeBron and Jordan matchup right now between Grand Limousine and Trey Dukes, because a $25 super chat just came in from Trey Dukes. LMAO, I'm responding to previous videos. I just got here. My bad. Okay. If you're responding to previous videos, that's perfectly fine. That's my counter, is Trey. Honestly, please let me know. Did you want them to pick Michael Penix a month ago today? If I told you that was the pick, how would you have graded it a month ago? Or are you just like, well, now that it's done, I'm going to try to be upbeat about it? And hey, I get that. But also, there's a lot of times in sports where teams made dumb picks. And if you said it was dumb in the moment, you'd look back and go, I was right. Like picking Brandon Whedon for the Browns. If we were talking about that pick 10 years ago now, and I said that was dumb, and you're like, no, it's not. Would I be right 5 years later? Yeah. So I understand there are some pros to the Michael Penix pick. And the thing that kills me is that a lot of people, I'll say two things. A lot of people have said, I don't like the pick because I think he sucks. Could not be further from the truth. Colin, testify, please. I was a big Michael Penix believer.
Correct.
All offseason long, in our office debates, I stuck up for Penix over Bo Nix and J.J. McCarthy. They kind of appear to be in their own tier.
I did as well.
Yes.
So you're not alone in this. PD was...
Dude, I made videos about this. Go back before they got Kirk Cousins. Sorry to cut you off. Go back before they got Kirk Cousins. When we talked about drafting a quarterback, I said Penix is my pick of the litter. So not once did I say Penix is a bad quarterback. That's why the Atlanta Falcons should not take him. The other thing that's just mind-blowing is that people were like, you don't like the Penix pick because you're racist and you want Kirk Cousins to start. Colin, who did I want the Atlanta Falcons to get at quarterback this offseason? When I did my dream offseason video, what was step one of it? Do you remember?
I do remember.
Trading for a certain quarterback from the Chicago Bears.
A certain quarterback that now plays in Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken.
So doesn't really add up when my original goal was to get Justin Fields. Doesn't fit the narrative very well, does it? We got some more super chats rolling in.
Yep.
Let's go. Is it working again or still not working? Okay.
No,
so computer's not working, but Colin is working behind the scenes like a sweatshop, getting it on screen for you guys here. So just bear with me. Eric Harrison with a $10 super chat. Eric, appreciate you. saying we need to respect Antonio Hamilton as CB2. Top 45 each last 3 years at PFF. QB grade. Clark plays slot where he shines. Eric, I like where your head's at, dude, because you're right. Like, Antonio Hamilton did play some solid play for the Cardinals last year. I think D. Alford is better at nickel than Clark Phillips, but it's really tough to say. We've got 1 year to go off. That's just probably not a big enough sample size to say definitively without actually being at practice day to day and watching these guys like the coaches do, who's best fit where. But I do think there is some truth to what you're saying, Eric, and that is don't be surprised if you see Antonio Hamilton like trot out with the first defense a little bit more, and the casual Falcons fans that are just kind of waking up in August go, who the heck is that? I'm like, oh, you clearly did not watch Falcons Today when they broke down that signing. So, Eric, appreciate your super chat. Thank you very much. Trey Dukes with another $20 super chat. Let's go. No, I wanted a QB. Didn't think the Falcons had the balls to actually do it. Penix was indeed my favorite QB in this draft. I absolutely positively did not want Dallas Turner at 8. No way a rookie pass rusher produces in year 1. Trey, I do think there is some truth to what you're saying there. Like, Dallas Turner was not someone that, like, in a big board perspective, I was like, glazing over. Like, I wanted Rome Odunze, who went to 9. And if Rome Odunze has a terrific career, that may be a spot where the Falcons look back and go like, okay, as long as Penix is great, awesome. But if not, man, Rome Odunze going the very next pick could be like nightmare fuel. Kind of like Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson. But Dallas Turner was a bit of a unique prospect because physically he was all there, like super big and super fast. And he had 10 sacks last year. So why wasn't he a more consensus prospect? Isn't that a little bit strange, just surface level? Like, to get a guy that big, that fast, with that much production, and to come from Alabama, so there's no question about the level of competition he went up against, and he falls to 17, I do kind of wonder, what were teams saying to themselves about Dallas Turner? Because he was not my favorite prospect. I mean, there was a period where I was like, I kind of want Treylon Arnold a little bit more. But I just felt like the positional need really took over for me. And I do see what you're saying, Trey, about a rookie pass rusher is not going to be the difference maker in the Atlanta Falcons hoisting a Lombardi this year to maximize Kirk Cousins. I understand that, especially with Dallas Turner not being like a Bradley Chubb, Myles Garrett, Von Miller, talked about prospect coming out. Will Anderson last year. He's not in that same tier of like, holy cannonball shit, can't miss. I just felt like the positional need for Atlanta was just too big to skip over. If they got some guys in free agency, it would soften the blow a lot. But they didn't. And they're just such a bad team when it comes to getting after the quarterback. Another super chat rolling in from Trey. Let's go. Trey Dukes, we'll get that on screen. He also wanted Rome Odunze. Like, I think Rome Odunze is a Larry Fitzgerald. And yes, you have Drake London. You signed Darnell Mooney. It didn't feel like it was your biggest need. But he had just generational talent written all over him. I think Rome Odunze is going to be so special in the NFL to the point where we'll look back and go like, oh, I forgot about Rome Odunze in college because he played at Washington. He wasn't on anyone's radar going into last year. And then he just blossomed. Trey popping off. Lav, you are correct. The Neighbors versus Odunze career will be a lot of fun to watch. Trey Dukes, not strange at all. He is more athletic than he is good. Who was the last edge to come out of Georgia/Bama scheme to be great? Will Anderson? Like,
pretty good so far.
Could we agree on Will Anderson, Trey? Having a pretty good start to his career, right? He won NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, did he not?
I believe so.
Did the Texans sweep that award with C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson? Someone fact check me. Trey said that's TBD. All right. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it was Will Anderson.
Okay. There is something to like TBD for Jalen Carter too. Nolan Smith, not quite. Maybe where Bulldog fans would have thought at this stage. Leonard Floyd out of Georgia. He's a pretty good pass rusher, don't you agree? I think Leonard Floyd's had a very good NFL career. Alabama pass rushers.
Yeah.
Before Will Anderson, you had a lot of defensive tackles from Alabama.
I'm about to say Jerron Reed from Seattle had a decent career. Who was the oh my god, the big dude in the middle?
Just edge.
Okay, Falcons edges.
No, just Alabama edges or Georgia edges.
I remember to be honest.
Trey is getting in the weeds here. We're not counting Leonard Floyd because he didn't play under Kirby Smart. Okay. You really narrowed the scope here. I guess the better question is, what guys are you talking about that came out of these systems that sucked? Alabama,
I'm trying to just think.
What Alabama pass rusher before Will Anderson has been a bust?
I'm scrolling down here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Last year, in terms of edge rushers, there was nobody. The year before. Okay, so that's Will Anderson's year. I'm trying to see. Don't want to misquote.
2022, 2021.
Yeah. To be honest, there wasn't a lot. 2021, there was Barrymore that went to New England. That's
Christian Barrymore. He's a defensive tackle more.
Yeah. So in terms of edges, scrolling here. I know this is bad radio. Apologize.
What are you looking at? The list of Alabama players drafted?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Rashawn Evans was an off-ball linebacker.
Yeah.
Deshaun Hand went 4th round of the Lions back in 2018. It's not. I mean, yeah.
Alabama produces a lot of defensive tackles.
They do.
Marcel
Williams,
Darius.
Marcel Darius that was the one I was thinking of earlier. Jonathan Allen technically is an edge, but he's more
Jonathan
3-4.
Allen. Yep.
So that's a little different.
Oh, Jonathan Allen and then Deron Payne.
Yep.
Again, I agree. Those are more interior defensive linemen.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm naming Alabama guys at this point.
I'm about to say
Georgia edge rushers. Nolan Smith comes to mind.
Yeah.
Leonard Floyd. Okay, can't count Leonard Floyd.
Honestly, the first one that came to mind was a bust, to be honest.
Who?
Jarvis Jones from Pittsburgh. You remember him?
Jarvis Jones?
That guy went drafted. He was first round pick back in 2014, I want to say.
I did not know him. No.
Was a Sperry guy could promise you could tell you a bunch about it, but I've not seen a lot of edges.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jarvis Jones was as a bust. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. By the way, take Dallas Turner out for a moment because it sounds like if it wasn't Penix, it was going to be Leatu Latu. That's the guy that the Falcons wanted to trade back into round 1 for. So, yeah. I think the better.
Well,
to make my narrative drive more, I'll look at all the edge rushers next year. But if Leatu Latu really starts to pop off, that's going to be the guy that I think you should realistically look at as, that was the runner-up to Michael Penix. Mm-hmm. What does Latu do?
Yeah.
He appears to be the number 2 guy in the clubhouse.
So, also, former number 1 overall pick. It's early, but he hasn't lived up quite to that potential yet. Trayvon Walker from Georgia.
Oh, my gosh. I forgot all about first overall pick.
No, I mean, hey, look.
That pick I also thought was a weird pick. That's really reaching on athletic traits over some level of production.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at all these,
Trey Dukes, I do appreciate all of your super chats, though. It's awesome having this, conversation with you because, I do think there is some levels of truth to the Michael Penix pick defenders, and it's not
20
indefensible. But I just feel like the issue with my new big issue with the pick is just that the bar is so high for Penix.
It is.
Because you need him to be an outstanding quarterback to make the pick make sense. Mm-hmm. If Michael Penix has an average NFL career, if Michael Penix is Ryan Tannehill in the NFL for a long time, started for 10 years.
Yeah.
That's tough to do at quarterback. That's an average career. But if he's just that, you'll look back at it as well, that was a bit of a waste of the 8th overall pick.
So this brings me back to a question that I brought up on the show, and maybe you could answer it. What is a first-round career for an NFL QB? in terms of like you don't have to maybe give it specific numbers like he's got to make 5 Pro Bowls or something. You don't have to do that. But like in your mind, right? Penix obviously isn't going to have the start that other QBs taking in round 1 have.
I'll tell you one.
Go ahead.
For it to be a successful round 1 pick,
Yeah. So you're
I
like,
think
hey,
I think they have to take you to the NFC or AFC championship game.
that's fair.
Super Bowl is very tough to do,
Final 4.
but you got to get me to the Final Four.
Okay. Now, obviously, there's more context to it, but a name that immediately came to mind that isn't a first-round guy was a guy that was taken in the first round, Blake Bortles. Remember from Jackson?
Yeah, no, he would not.
Yeah, like Case Keenum did that same year with the Vikings. I mean, heck, Nick Foles did with the Eagles. So, like, there's more to it.
Yeah, there is.
So, but, I mean, I like your thought process because it's multi-layered, right?
I think it is. Get me to an NFC AFC championship game, and get 3 contracts. Your rookie contract,
Yep.
a second contract,
and the third one after.
that.
Okay. Yeah. That one.
That's a long time. Maybe just 2 contracts, right? You get your first one that's 5 years, and then you get your second one that's 5 years, another 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's 10 years.
Georgia's got a lot. By the way, it was 2013 for Jarvis Jones. For those who are wondering, that brother.
The most forgettable draft of all time.
Yeah. 17th overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I guarantee you, if you ask our Steelers host, he probably remembers that one not too fondly. But yeah, Trayvon Walker, I guess, is the best answer to pre-Will Anderson, Georgia or Alabama.
Yeah, and Trayvon Walker quietly had a pretty solid year last year. He had what? I think he had 10 sacks.
Yeah, so that's what Trey Duke said.
He had 10 sacks?
That's what Trey said.
Yeah, Trey. Yeah. Okay, yeah, there it is. He had 10. Yeah, like he kind of flew under the radar, but I think Trayvon Walker, maybe he will not be looked at as one of the best first overall picks, but he's not going to be a bust. Like I think he's going to have a 12-year career in the NFL.
Right.
And he'll probably play on 3 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have like 8 years with the Jags.
Yeah.
And they let him walk when his second contract's up.
I was about to say, he definitely gets another contract. And
He gets a 5th-year option picked up. He gets a 4-year extension. And then maybe they cut him before the final year if he had like an injury.
Yeah.
And they want to rebuild.
You know what? Actually, a name just came to mind. He could have a quieter career than Jadeveon Clowney. Like a Jadeveon Clowney kind of arc.
I think of a louder Clowney career.
Okay, louder. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit better than Clowney.
Okay, I meant more in personality, but that's.
Oh yeah.
That's what I meant. But yes, in terms of production, yes, I 100% see where you're coming from. So.
All right, if we get another super chat, whether it's Grand Limousine or Trey Dukes, we'll keep the show going. Trey Dukes, your $25 super chat, by the way, is the leader for the bigger super chat today, just like the single largest super chat. So, Trey, let me know. Pick a future show topic. Get in the chat right now if you'd like to. If you want to think about it, you can come back to me next week. You can let me know. Email me, Matthew@chatsports.com, MATTHEW@chatsports.com. Very simple. And we can break it down over there. But if we get another super chat, we'll keep the show going. Otherwise, we do have to sign off. Literally, we had ironically enough, our Saints host open the door because he wants to film his video. So if you want to support the channel and keep Saints Now off the air, super chat.
Yeah. We don't want the Saints
double
coming
win.
in here. We don't want the Saints coming in here.
Saints, they're gonna suck this year.
Yeah, they are.
And by the way, by suck, I mean I think they're gonna win 6 games.
I think there is a very, very, very strong chance we see Spencer Rattler play games for the Saints.
So I was actually gonna say the opposite. I think quietly Derek Carr had a solid year last year.
That's fine.
I think the Derek Carr blind resume here. Don't look.
Okay.
I want to do Derek Carr blind resume with everyone.
Okay.
I think there may be some whoa. Okay.
I believe it.
How many touchdowns do you think he threw last year?
You want me to guess?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, if I had to guess, Derek Carr.
I'll tell you what he did in 2022 with the Raiders.
Okay.
So you have like a baseline.
Okay.
2022 with the Raiders, he threw 24 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. What do you think he did in 2023 with the Saints?
Based on your tone,
Yeah.
I guess it's higher. So I'm going to go 28.
25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
That's 3-to-1 touchdown interception ratio.
Completion percentage up 8 points. And he threw 3,800 yards.
Yeah.
So
I just how old is
Trey
that?
Dukes with a $10 super chat. Let's go, Trey. Not a Saints guy. Stop it. Keep it going. Fire the Aints guy. I love it, Trey. I love it. Appreciate you, Trey. Not a Saints guy. Stop it. Keep it going. Let's go. You want to do some, how about this? Ready?
Okay.
If we get another super chat, we'll keep it going. Until then, we'll run through division winner predictions.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Let's start in the NFC. Who's winning the NFC South?
NFC South, well, obviously the Falcons.
I do believe the Atlanta Falcons are going to win the division.
Yeah, I think, not to go on too long.
I think the Bucs are going to be competitive.
They'll be competitive, but they're playing a first-place schedule. They come down a little bit. They lost.
Bingo. First place schedule.
They lost a couple of key pieces, and obviously they're still kind of somewhat strapped up against the cap.
Yeah.
I didn't mind their draft this year, but honestly, they got the worst out of the 3 Washington wide receivers. Like, I don't know. I think Atlanta's got the upper edge.
Okay. I agree. I think the Falcons are going to win the division. NFC West.
LA
49ers?
Rams.
You're the Rams.
Rams, yeah.
Why not the Niners?
I think the Niners, they're going to really miss Dre Greenlaw,
Yeah, that's true.
who may or may not be ready at all.
Gosh, maybe
for
like
next year.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Huafunga, I'm interested to see how he looks coming back, but that secondary is questionable. They got some young guys that they could maybe fill in. But I'm a big proponent of when you went all in like San Francisco did and Brock Purdy and you had that run, I don't think you're going to be as quite at that same level. Like, I still think Brandon Ayuk will have a great year, but if he's playing on the tag or if he gets traded, I mean, obviously we'll see with him and Debo. I think Debo's going to regress. I think Ayuk could potentially be frustrated, maybe sit out a little bit of training camp. We don't know. I just think there's a lot of noise. Whereas the Rams, Stafford, and again, I hate saying this, but I think Stafford, McVay, they loaded up in the draft. I think they're going to be a sneaky team. And they're also playing a, second place schedule versus first?
Yeah.
I got the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Niners. You made some good points about the Rams. I feel like the candle is coming to an end with Matthew Stafford.
That's fair.
And he showed some resiliency and some fight last year because it kind of looked like his career could be over with the, elbow and arm injuries he kept dealing
Injuries
with.
are a major concern. Absolutely.
But I just think the Niners are just too talented.
They are.
They are so talented. Like literally, I think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean they got
too good.
They have all pros at every level of their quote unquote depth chart except quarterback.
Okay, NFC East.
Eagles.
I don't know.
Here's the thing. I think the Cowboys regress because they went all in.
I think the Cowboys are regressing. Yes.
Yeah. Washington, ironically, I'm more scared of than the Giants. Sorry, Marshall. I just don't trust Daniel Jones, to be honest. Washington could be interesting, but I just think their free agency really hindered what was a pretty good draft in there.
Oh, you think so? I liked their free. They spent a lot of money in free agency.
Would you agree that they may have slightly overspent on Dorrance Armstrong and Tyler Biadasz?
Sure, maybe, but what do I care? What do they care?
That's fair. I mean, look,
it's
if
their
you're
money.
your guys, Dan Quinn knows them, so maybe he knows them better than we do, but I don't know.
Dude, I kind of like the commies. I thought they killed the draft.
The
Jaden
draft they
Daniels,
100%
Jazon Newton.
Yeah.
I thought they did a great job in the draft. I think the Eagles are going to be having they think that they're going to just snap back to the way they started last year compared to the way they ended last year. I think they're going to be much more like the team that was the end of the year compared to the beginning of the year. I've never been super high on Jalen Hurts, and that's starting to show a little bit more. So I think the Cowboys take a big step back too.
Yeah,
so
I definitely think it's an Eagles or Commanders race, but I just trust the Eagles a little bit more.
we need a surprise division winner.
I'm about to say we've picked every division opposite except the NFC South.
I'm going Commanders.
Okay, I'll go
Yeah.
Eagles.
Sam?
I was just, I had to take off early today,
Oh.
so I just didn't know if you guys needed anything.
No, we're good to go. Thank you, soldier. See you, buddy.
Take it easy, brother.
I'm gonna go. Okay, so I'm gonna go with the
NFC.
Commanders. Yeah, I'll get a little feisty there. NFC North.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with. I kind of want to say the Bears. I think Caleb Williams could do that in year one.
I will say, so
You think the Falcons have issues at pass rush? The Bears have Montez Sweat, and that's it. And that's a problem.
I like the guy that they drafted out of 5th round out of Kansas. I think
Devin Booker.
Yes.
Oh no,
Not Devin. Austin Booker.
Austin Booker.
Austin Booker. I think he could be a solid rotational guy. Obviously, as a rookie, maybe not that much production. But here's my thing. I like the Bears. They won 7 games last year. I think with Caleb, they could easily win 3 more, get to 10.
Yeah.
I still think whoever wins that division is getting to at least 11 or 12.
Yeah. Could the Lions do it back to back?
I think
I don't think so. Doesn't seem like the football gods would give Detroit that. I'll go with the Bears. I think Caleb Williams can do that in year one.
This is easily the toughest division, I think, to predict. And I have the right to change my mind, but as I wake up this morning, I'm going to roll with the Packers. I think they had a really good free agency.
Yeah. They won a playoff game last year.
Yeah. Jordan Love, I thought balled out. I think LaFleur and him are the chemistry and everything. Added Josh Jacobs, which, again, not sure why they got rid of Aaron Jones, but besides the point, Xavier McKinney they added too. So I'll roll with the Packers.
All right. If we get to the AFC, we don't get another super chat. We do sign off. AFC West. Chiefs.
We agree.
Chiefs. If it's not the Chiefs, who?
Chargers.
Yeah, Harbaugh is going to win a division.
Yeah,
eventually. And I don't think it's going to be one of those things where he has to wait for Andy Reid to retire.
Yeah.
I think he will steal a division crown from the Chiefs.
I'll give it a slight little nugget. I think the Chargers get one game on the Chiefs this year.
I like that home, too. Not that fan base is even present, but I think in year one, Harbaugh is going to have a great rapid turnaround.
Yeah.
But year two, that's 2 off seasons of him getting his guys in. And Harbaugh is, if you're power ranking coaches that need their guys, he's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
So I'll go with the Chiefs as well. Chargers in 2025. How about that?
That's a fair. I need to see the free agency and stuff, but I like it.
I like this from Falcon. Bears, rookie quarterback. Did you guys watch any football? Well, let's talk about the AFC South, who last year had a rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud win the division. Yeah. Do the Texans win the division again, or does Trevor Lawrence, the Jags, come back?
Neither.
Or
I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts. I said this, I think it was yesterday. I think Anthony Richardson is arguably the most impressive young dynamic quarterback out there. I love Shane Steichen, the fact that they got A.D. Mitchell, pair with Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, Jonathan Taylor still back there.
Yep.
And they got arguably, the best edge in the draft. I like the Colts this year.
I'm going to go with the Texans.
That's fair.
I think they're going to win it back-to-back. Yeah. And then I'm not a big Anthony Richardson believer.
That's fair.
And then we have the AFC North.
Ooh.
This is, for starters, that's a division that had 3 teams go to the playoffs last year. Browns, Ravens, Steelers. And the Bengals, they finished 9-8.
Yeah.
But just missed it.
With Jake Browning playing a significant portion of the season.
I'll go with the Ravens back-to-back.
Okay.
I do think the Ravens missed their opportunity, and they will never have a chance again to have Patrick Mahomes at home in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
But I think the Ravens can win it back-to-back.
I'm going to also go with the Ravens. I would normally pick Cincinnati. I don't trust Burrow's health. I don't think T. Higgins will be on the roster week 1. Maybe not even Trey Hendrickson.
I've got major concerns for the Bengals.
Yeah, they are a franchise that's going the wrong direction. So, and the Browns, listen, we'll see what they do with their situation, but I think the Ravens win. So I agree with you there.
AFC East.
Yep.
Dolphins finally break through.
I would say they almost did it last year. They lost on the...
If they didn't lose to the Titans, that was the moment you look back at and go, that's why you didn't win the division.
By the way, separate discussion. Fantasy league I was in last year came down to that game for me making the playoffs.
Oh, that's so cool. Nobody gives a shit.
I know, right?
No one gives a fuck right now. I want you to know that.
I'll take the Bills. I'll tell that story later.
Did you win your league?
I missed out on the playoffs.
I don't care at all.
Okay.
Who was on your team though?
I had going into that game. I had Tua.
No one gives a shit.
And Devon Achane.
Okay.
Going against Raheem Morris, and he outscored both.
Buddy Bear's here. Buddy Bear. Hope you're having a good day. Do the Dolphins even have a salary cap this year? They did lose some guys like Christian Wilkins to your Raiders, Buddy Bear. They also did make some additions. They brought in Andrew Van Ginkel from the Vikings.
Well, they brought in Wilkins, Van Ginkel.
They lost Wilkins.
Yeah, they brought in some other low-key signings. I think it was Jalen Guyton, the wide receiver they signed. Andres Pete.
Oh, Jordan Brooks from the Seahawks. They're going to get Bradley Chubb.
Oh, you're talking Dolphins.
Dolphins.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I misheard.
They're going to get Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips back. No, Andrew Van Ginkel did not go there. I don't know where he went.
I don't know.
Tier Tart, Chop Robin. Actually, I wasn't very big on the Chop Robin.
I got your boy Jalen Wright, though, in the draft.
Yeah, great pick by them. And they got OBJ, so that's kind of fun. It's a big name. Left and Teron Armstead, if he can stay healthy. Okay. And then we have finally, is that all of them? Yeah. AFC West. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Really appreciate all of your patience bearing with us. I know we had some technical difficulties at the end. I'm sorry, technology does that from time to time, but you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Special shout out to Trey Dukes, Grand Limousine, everyone that's in the super chat. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Trey Dukes, let me know what you want to do for a future edition of Falcons Today.